It's June 23rd, 2000. 400 tons of bunker oil leaks into the South African coast after the MV Treasure cargo ship crashes en route from China to Brazil, near Robben Island, where Mandela was kept for 18 of his 27 wrongfully imprisoned years. Now, the fallout affected a lot of marine species, including gannets and cormorants, but the reason the spill was dubbed the worst environmental disaster in South Africa's history is because of how it affected the African penguin. So, Robben and Dassen Islands were home to almost 40,000 of the world's 180,000 remaining African penguins. Estimates say about 20,000 penguins were oiled and 2,000 died. And you see, when penguins get oil on them, a few things happen. They lose their insulation, so they can't stay warm, leaves them vulnerable to hypothermia. It causes skin irritation, ulcers, and they try to preen the oil off, invariably ingesting some of the oil, which is toxic, if you didn't know. But they're more prone than those other birds I mentioned because the silly things can't fly. They've got nowhere to go. So this oil spill happens. Penguins are oiled, and something really unexpected and amazing happens. Cape Town takes action. So during a 2-week rehab process, they work with a South African company, Biomatrix, to organize one of the largest bird rescue operations ever. They've got 130 international biologists supervising 45,000 citizen volunteers. They get 400 tons of fish to feed the 20,000 birds. And the most amazing number in all that is the 45,000, especially when you consider the pictures. See, most of the residents of Cape Town and neighboring Simonstown, they realized the value the penguins brought for tourism, but they'd also grown attached to this species that, despite being a pain in their ass sometimes, swimming in their pools and raiding their gardens, was still really just a part of the community. And the pictures and the videos from the time, you see volunteers, young and old, rich and poor, just working side by side, just trying to help rehabilitate these birds. Diane DiNapoli dubbed the Penguin Lady for her work through the years in these kinds of things, and she has an excellent TED Talk on this that I'll link in the show notes. She said in a 2019 interview, quote, "Everyone wanted to help. There were blue-collar workers, white-collar professionals, homemakers, students, even the homeless. It was one of the most remarkable and heartwarming displays of humanity and goodwill that I've ever witnessed." And it is remarkable. There's pictures of them wrangling them up, like scrubbing them down with a cleaner that was developed by a 17-year-old, by the way, which Diane also mentions in her TED Talk. And then they release them. They clean up a section of Boulders Beach in Simonstown and turn it into a park for them. It's incredible. Only it isn't. That's just what animals do when they see other animals struggling to survive. And yet with people, we don't always seem to hold up that bargain. But when you see an animal in distress, let's say it's an oily penguin, if one was in the room with you right now, you'd scrub the oil off of it any way you could. You'd bring it in. You'd make sure it was strong again. You'd maybe clean up a nice spot for him, someplace for it to go when you release it. And then you release them. We help. And this sadly has happened several times since then. 2016, again in July 2019, and each time the same story. People come together. People respond. So in those cases, it was 220 affected penguins, 1.2% of the total population. It doesn't matter how many or how costly, but if it did, they know that too. So depending on the sources, the marginal cost of fixing a penguin is somewhere between $80 and $100 per bird. Not bad, really. But you never see a mention of it. It's never even a consideration. All we want to do is help. And if you're home right now and not working through whatever horrible circumstances have led to that, but you've got the internet and you've got a brain, find someplace online doing something positive that needs something you're good at. Go help.